I don't remember, but I do remember that series that really got me back into Twilight Zone at the time because I was like, I liked Twilight Zone, the old one, and then I saw those and they were all really strong. Like there was one, like if the guy told his dad a story but left it at a cliffhanger every night, like the next night he'd have to like the dad would still live, and then like generations, like they were able to keep the dad was still alive.
Was that the Twilight Zone?
I thought it was.
I don't know. Yeah, I get it mixed up. So because there were a couple other anthology series around at the time, but that's a little hazy.
That one was one of them.
Yeah.
There's one where like I can't remember how this one ended, what the story was, but like there was some kind of construction crew that had to build every moment in time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They've got like yellow tools or something. Yeah. It's this really funky, cartoony production design. It's really, really funny. And at one point, one of the characters is like, "Why does time work that way?" And it's like, "That's just how it works."
Delete.
You know,
move your mic.
But yeah,
this is good mini episode stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember enjoying a lot of those.
They build it like minute by minute, and they got to jump on board for the next minute.
Yeah, this is like next year. We're getting started next year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And they show them laying the foundation and stuff.
Yeah, they were like laying down like the gravel and building the city again. I was just like, I loved how like ridiculously inefficient the whole idea was.
Yeah.
They have to build reality every
moment.
Yeah.
Rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's 1 minute at a time.
Somehow, like a couple of humans, like
get into that.
They're like
they fall out of their time.
They fall
stream.
out of their time and into the time where the construction workers are building. The sets.
They jump ahead a little early, and at one point, he's saying, you ever lose your keys and come back later and find them when someplace you've already looked? That's just us.
We went and fixed it.
We slipped up. That's all. It happens.
Yeah.
And that's
kind of like the same with the story one. It was like the story one is like they were talking the story one where it keeps their father alive. It's like
the cliffhanger every night.
Yeah, the cliffhanger every night. But then at the end of the night, at the end of the story, it talks about like it jumping forward in time and then following the guy into somebody's home, and then it's like, is the guy going to still be alive? And then it ends up being like he's telling a story within a story, and he's telling it to somebody else. He's telling it to his own father. So it's like that's like the sort of like I as a 10-year-old, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Do you remember the one where the guy wakes up and goes downstairs and his wife's like, "Hi, honey, do you want dinosaur for breakfast?"
Oh yeah,
And he's like, "What did you say?" And she's like, "I'm making dinosaur for breakfast." And it's like eggs. And the premise of it is that all of the words have changed meaning. So like,
but like one word at a time.
It's one word at a time. So it's like
the language is gradually
still
changing.
Speaking English, but all the words have different meanings.
Yeah.
So he like freaks out, obviously, because he can't understand what anybody's saying to him because their sentences don't make any sense. And then at the end of the episode, he like goes into his kid's room and like takes like a
children's book
off the wall
and starts relearning all the words.
Relearn what all the words mean now.
Right. Yeah. But it is actually
a cool episode.
It's actually a brain disorder similar to that called aphasia, where your words get mistranslated as you speak. You don't have the same association between word and concept.
I have that problem.
But yeah, that's a really, really, really cool episode.
Yeah, I don't know much about like how that series got made, but I thought the 80s one was like fantastic. I was like,
it's funny, there's a chain of custody going all the way back to the original Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
A lot of the writers from Twilight Zone went on to Night Gallery, and some of those went on to this
Our old
show.
pal Harlan Ellison wrote Twilight Zone episode.
He did, yeah. He was a creative consultant on the new one in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like Dark Room, if you've heard of that, and some of the new Outer Limits, all of those things. That's kind of the same team of writers. Writers were dropping it out, but there was kind of like a brain trust that followed. It was groups of the same writers would move on from one project to the next. So there's kind of a continual memory from Twilight Zone. New Twilight Zone all the way back down to the original through these different anthology shows that came and went over the years.
Yeah. I like that short kind of like one-off format, but I guess a lot of people don't like it.
Yeah.
It always appealed to me. It's like, I like just coming in. I don't have to know like. What's
Yeah.
going on.
There's nothing. You come in for a story. And you get a story, and you don't have to have any commitment going in or out. You just watch the story.
Because that's what I'll say.
What
Like,
was the- what
It's
was the,
expensive. That's why
Yeah, you don't have any standing sets.
you need new sets,
to
new
have
costumes,
New
Yeah,
costumes,
everything.
new production
New
design for every
everything
episode.
every week.
And in the new Twilight Zone, they'd often have three
They had,
stories.
like 3 stories in
in
one
an hour.
episode.
Yeah. And each of those had to be independently produced and conceived.
That's why the people in charge of the money don't like
and
it.
like a lot of
Yeah.
times they were like, I mean, I guess this is pretty typical for television, but they had like different directors for everyone, different production staff on some levels. I think.
But they were done in blocks. You know, the team would do a block. You had a different look and feel to each story because they sometimes bring on these big shot directors to do a story, and they'd really put their heart into it because they were doing a Twilight Zone.
Did you watch Amazing Stories, Blake?
That's the show. That's the
Yeah.
one I was trying
Yeah.
to remember the name.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that, because I can't remember some stories because they were about the same time. I
it
confuse
was on.
sometimes.
I feel like they were on like exactly
Amazing Stories
exactly the
was
same
like
time.
the sort of family-friendly Twilight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
sometimes-
less creepy.
There were no like dark episodes of them.
some of them were a little dark.
some of them were
Most
like,
of them-
not like Twilight Zone.
most of
but
them were
end
fun,
of the
though.
world.
there was like one
Yeah,
where
right,
this kid
right, yeah.
becomes magnetic, and I kind of remember it having kind of a darker ending, but
Yeah, some of them were dark, but not nearly. I mean, the Twilight Zone got really dark.
yeah, they like question
Really
like,
dark.
what's the point of humanity?
Right. Yeah,
Like,
They did Ray Bradbury's Examination Day
point?
as a little short episode.
What's the point of?
That's a really dark one.
I don't know that story.
This kid is all concerned about this IQ test he is coming up.
What are they? Oh, banana chips.
It's like this big deal, and he's worried about whether he's going to do well on it. And his parents say, "Don't worry, you'll do fine. Everyone does fine." And he's a really clever, inquisitive kid, and he asks a lot of questions that his parents can't answer. Anyway, eventually he goes in for the test. They give him like this truth serum before he starts the test, just to make sure his answers are honest. And it turns out at the end, his IQ exceeded government limits, and so he gets a phone. The parents get a phone call saying, your son's body is ready to be disposed of. They basically exterminate anyone whose IQ exceeds a certain level. To keep
He's
the population.
too smart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was the twist.
that's the punchline. At the
no,
end.
my wow.
Yeah, it's a really
He was
really
worried
dark
about
one.
not being smart enough.
It's a really dark episode.
Nice.
And the short story
Ray
it's based
Bradbury
on,
was dark as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he's got that reputation as being like.
the short story it's based on is chilling. I mean, it's just this terrifying read when you get to the end.
There's a Ray Bradbury story. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about it's on another planet where it rains like every
All summer and a day.
every day
Yeah.
of
All
the
summer
year
and a day,
except
yeah.
one day.
Yeah.
And so it's set in like an elementary school classroom, and the kids are all excited because it's
It's on Venus.
It's the one
and
day,
it's continually clouded over.
It's like the
one day a year.
of the year where the sun comes out,
Yeah.
and they can actually like see the sun. So the kids are all excited. And this one little girl who's like the protagonist of the story, she gets bullied. Like she's like the target of the bullies in her classroom, and they like
Well, she grew up on Earth, so she's actually seen the sun.
they lock her in the closet. At the end of the story, they lock her in the closet
So she can't see the
so
sun.
that she does, so
Yeah.
that she misses her chance to see the sun. It's just like that's just fucked up, man.
I've seen a few adaptations of it, and they try to soften that ending because it's just so bleak. It's just so
She
dark.
can like hear them through the door. They're like,
Hey,
outside.
having fun and everybody's having a great time.
Yeah. Well, they forget about her is the thing. They aren't trying to do harm. That's the other end of the tragedy. They're not really trying to do this horrible thing to her. It happens inadvertently through their bullying.
Yeah.
Kids are the worst.
But there's nothing they can do but undo it at the end. There's no fix.
I seen the sun. It ain't all that.
in here, or should we start without her?
I don't know what's going on with that. I will go do a brief check. You guys keep talking about some famous Twilight Zone and amazing stories, and I will be right back.
But yeah, those two shows kind of run together in my head because they were on about the same time.
The only amazing stories I can remember is the one where the guy draws the landing gear.
That's the one that always comes into my head.
Is that the Spielberg one? I think
Yeah.
Spielberg
Yeah.
directed
Yeah,
that.
that's the
Yeah.
one.
It's like World War II, and they're in a
they're-
bomber.
yeah.
And Zemeckis did the one with Christopher Lloyd. What the animated one, Family Dog, that was Brad Bird. That was like the start of Brad Bird's animated career in a way. Because Family Dog went on to be a short-lived TV series, and then
I remember there was one where they're aliens that their entire knowledge of Earth is from television broadcast signals.
yeah, that's. I don't know if that was an episode of something or
No,
or the plot of Explorers or both.
It's also the plot of Explorers.
But there's also an Amazing Stories.
Okay, so it's both.
There's
Both, yeah,
it's
okay.
both.
Yeah.
That is this. I know, but
Yeah.
I remember the Amazing Stories episode because they talk about Uncle Milty all the time.
Right.
In that episode, the aliens
Right.
are constantly
They're into
referencing
Milton
Uncle
Berle.
Milty.
When I was a kid, I had the novelization of Explorers,
Right on.
and I remember reading it after and seeing the movie and thinking that the book was so much better because they added all that stuff, that gets cut out of movies all the time. Like,
Right, yeah.
the novelization was so much better than the movie. I'm sure if I read it now, I would be like, this is a hack piece of garbage. But at the time, I was like, this is a great story. It's a little bit like Last Starfighter because it's such a wish fulfillment movie. It's about building your own spaceship
right,
and,
and then-
flying
and
to
then going
meeting a bunch of
meeting
aliens.
aliens.
Yeah,
and
who
shit.
was it? I think it was like Vonda McIntyre. Somebody did the
Wrote
novelization.
the novels? That sounds
No, for Star Trek
right.
5. For Star Trek
She wrote
5.
a shit ton of those.
Yeah, and
she
she-
wrote like every.
And she
she
really
wrote
worked.
every franchise there is.
She worked hard to patch all the plot holes in the script and
Yeah.
make it into a compelling story that worked on paper.
The book is probably better than the movie.
Yeah.
I read a shitload of
Asimov did that with
Star Trek books as a kid. In between my readings of the Warner
the
Report.
shrink, the fantastic Voyage, I think it's called,
that one.
where they shrink and go in the guy's head. Yeah, the Asimov novelization attempts to patch all the plot
it's
holes
pretty-
that
it's
arise when you
Fantastic Voyage.
do that. And he later rewrote that entirely. Did a Fantastic Voyage story that wasn't in any way beholden to the original script. He just went completely free with telling the story in a
remember-
reasonably plausible way.
Our fourth grade teacher showed us that movie.
Well, that's a fun movie, yeah.
It was
Raquel Welch,
Donald Pleasance,
yeah,
the bad guy.
yeah. But it's just a fun movie.
But yeah, it
You
was.
listen to My Favorite Murder, right?
Yes, it's my jam.
You see the Archer they did based on that?
No, I don't watch
It's
Archer.
hysterical.
I'm sure. I've heard it's a great show.
Yeah.
Anna knows that Karen Kilgariff because she worked on.
That makes sense.
She did that
It's
true-
around the-
She did that talk show, The Game Show.
Okay.
Anna produced that, and Karen Kilgariff was like one of the panelists.
All right.
Well, what'd she do? I can't remember now.
Karen, she seems like pretty funny.
Yeah, she said she was pretty chill.
Yeah.
She only wanted to be filmed from here up because she didn't like the way she looked from
Yeah, they're both.
here down. I was like, well, that's TV people for you. I mean,
Yeah.
Philippe has returned.
oh, everybody's
Are
back.
we ready?
Good.
Should we?
Very good. They showed me some stuff that's going on in Fortnite.
Yeah.
Crack in the sky is dissipating, and they're
That's good.
Are they dancing?
So what's Fortnite? I mean, I know it's a video game, but like, what's the premise of it?
so. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Hey, Jake.
the
can
Battle
you
for
lower
Royale
the
format of video
paper
games.
towels?
It's a new kind of format
you
that's
can do it for
popular.
me.
What?
Battle Royale.
Thank you.
Like
Thank
the movie?
you, Aaron. I
It's kind
appreciate
of yeah.
that.
It's all kind of stems from the movie. So the Battle Royale is a kind of a new trend in video games, and they are essentially everybody drops into an island or some kind of closed
Uh-huh.
area.
Like an arena?
Yeah, and they have nothing to start with, and they have to find weapons and so forth. And,
Uh-huh. And then last man standing.
Last
wins.
Man Standing wins, and it's really a popular format. And really, I mean, it's been around for a while, but PUBG, Player Unknown Battlegrounds, really got it popularized. And
Wait, PUBG stands for Player Unknown Battleground?
Yep.
Okay.
And then that one started it off, kind of got in the super popular echelon for it, and then Fortnite has just taken over because Fortnite is free, and
It's free?
it's free to download and play, and then they basically sell
Do you play
cosmetics.
on your phone or do you play on
Yeah.
like a PC?
You can play on almost any
Yeah,
device,
it's
really.
everywhere.
But most people, I mean, my kids play on PlayStation, but
iPad.
and iPad. Yeah, so
Oh, so I could go to the PlayStation store and download it onto
yeah, it's
my
free.
PlayStation?
And like what they basically charge you for is
this is not an
cosmetics.
advertisement for Fortnite, by the way. I'm just
No,
asking
definitely
questions.
not.
They don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, every kid at my kid's school plays it.
How do they make money if it's free to play? Where's the monetization?
Cosmetics. So if you
You-
want to look
Upgrades.
Making them up.
to buy special
In-game upgrades?
yeah, in-game upgrades.
Uh-huh.
They're quite profitable.
Costumes and dances.
Costumes, dances, you can
Emotes.
dance, and there's all sorts of things. Like you have different things, cosmetics you can buy, and all that's where their big money.
That's
comes
where they
from.
make the money is from people wanting,
they do
wanting to be fancy.
Yep. So yeah, my kids are into it. So they were showing me some stuff, and they've had some really fun tie-ins with like
And then
Thanos and stuff.
What's Overwatch?
Overwatch.
The reason I'm asking this is because I saw a thing the other day about like the Overwatch World Championships or something, and it was like in a like hockey or stadium or someplace
Yeah.
in like convention center.
Yeah.
It's a
And I know I sound like a total like rube here because I don't already know these things, but I was like, oh, people actually go
Esports,
physically to
Esports are
watch
a big
these
thing.
things.
big money.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed the monitor you got says esports. Like it's specifically an esports monitor.
Yeah, that's right.
Esports. Okay, that's
Yeah, so it's I mean, like some of these so Overwatch is a competitive hero shooter, and so it's like where
You got a gang, and you and your gang run around and try and kill the other.
yeah,
gang.
there's objectives, and every person on your gang is like a hero, and he can kind of do something a little bit different and special, and so you have to coordinate between that. So it's basically a fast-paced first-person,
And the people who are good at this and are on these teams and play in these leagues, like actually make serious amounts of money doing this
for
professionally.
the for the top. I mean, the top players in different esports now, make multi. I mean, the purses on these prizes are, for some of these places are over several $1 million.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
all
like-
the big teams like live and play together in like mansions owned by their club.
the sponsor, whoever's
No,
sponsoring them.
the clubs are their own owners.
Oh,
And
okay.
they're kind of like the NFL and so on has football clubs, and
Right.
stuff.
And so
Yeah,
like
well,
a team might like actually buy a house for a group so they can play together and practice together and stuff like that. And I mean, they're pretty serious. I mean, internationally, it's very big too. It's so, I mean, there are a lot of the leading
Talk
companies.
about
Yeah.
body snatchers. Like that is.
There's
I mean,
a-
cool. I mean, that's great. I don't know why I'm shitting on it. It's amazing.
No, it's
well, it's a fairly recent phenomenon compared to other sports that draw an arena. So
People had a
it's
problem
still-
with football when it first started.
it's true.
Well, I remember. I think it's,
Sounds like I
think
was
there's
there. I was there when football came out,
There's
and
there's
boy,
a Penn and
people did
Teller,
not like it.
Penn and Teller's bullshit about violence in video games and how that being a trigger for violence in the real world is bullshit. And in it, they do this comparison of what if it had been video games that had been the spectator sport since the early 1900s to now.
right.
And then in the last 10 years, football became a thing. What would the reaction be? And the reaction would be, this is a violent death
Football's
sport.
way more violent
And they're
than
actually
video
hurting
games.
each
Right?
other.
And
Yeah.
society would think this is the worst ill you could ever come up with.
Right.
Right? But people have been watching, and people, their whole point was that,
We're just used to football.
yeah, you're used to football, so that's okay. But violence in video games, that's the cause of and in a classic make Shawn cry moment, the end of that episode, if you don't cry at the end of that episode,
At the end of an episode of Penn and Teller's
if you,
bullshit,
I swear to God,
You cry.
Find that episode. There, all of and it's. I swear to God, if you don't cry at the end of that episode, you have no heart.
okay.
No heart. I
Wow.
promise you.
Wow.
Okay.
Sarah McLachlan.
I have no heart.
Right.
I'm
It's
telling
Sarah
you.
McLachlan singing while pictures of sad animals.
I can tell you what the
are on
end
the
is,
screen.
but I would fear that
It's
would
as
taint
sad
it
as
for you.
that.
Yeah, I didn't have to do our homework.
You gotta find that episode.
So I need to track. You're telling me I need to track down the video games episode of Penn and Teller's bullshit to enjoy a good cry.
I can categorically tell you I'm not going to look it up, so I'm free to be spoiled.
Yeah, you can spoil me too because there's
Okay.
no way in hell I'm
So
going to do what you're
there's
asking
this-
me to do.
There's like a 9-10-year-old kid
All right.
who
Crying already.
loves first person shooter games. Plays them all the time. Plays Call of Duty. Plays you name it, he plays them. His mom is fine with it. And the theory that they're testing is that, okay, this is a kid, he plays first-person shooters. If your theory that this is going to cause him to be a violent person in real life, I'm going to take him. They take him to a shooting range, and they have like someone from the military there have him fire an actual AR-15. Right?
Yep. Seems like child endangerment. But
goes there. They have it all set up. His parents there. You know, his parents are part of it. They're all right. He goes in. They get him. It's very safe. He's safely there. He takes a shot. Just one shot at a target.
and he accidentally shot his mother, and his mother dies. No. Bleeds out in front of him.
I would maybe cry.
And that would make me cry.
And then he's, well, do you want to take another shot? And he's all, no. Right, and that's it. That's how that's in the middle of the episode. They go through that. They go through more stuff, and then at the end, he says, "Now, we would be remiss if we didn't show you the rest of what happened to." God damn it! I'm gonna start crying just talking about it.
Let it out, Sean.
This is a safe space.
Oh, Sean.
And then they go back to the sequence. And the kid is just crying in his mother's arms
because it freaked him out.
And she's just like, it's okay. And he's just, and all the Penn Jillette says, we're sorry to the kid. And that's how the episode ends.
Oh, wow.
It is, like I said, I'm crying just talking about it right now. It is a powerful fucking moment.
You're the best.
Cool.
Sorry.
No, that's interesting, Sean. Where do you see this show?
I would say that it's on Hulu. You can find all of it, but it was a great. That show is great. If you have any,
I like those guys.
If you have any sense of just sort of looking at things from another direction, they talk about all sorts.
I don't like Penn.
The episode.
I'm okay with Teller, but I don't like Penn.
Penn, and what's okay about Teller?
Penn is like, he's got like a real libertarian political streak that I don't enjoy. Yeah, but Teller is in about it.
Teller doesn't talk.
That's why I'm okay with
Teller
him.
Is in.
He does not advertise his political views.
There are some episodes that are like the one about recycling. You kind of go, okay, I agree with some of it, don't agree with some of it. The one they do about vaccinations.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I love that one.
You might have seen that it went viral. The opening to that.
Oh, with them throwing mousetraps?
With them throwing no. When they're throwing like grapefruit at
a screen, yeah.
They take 100. They have like pegs set up on the ground, like 100 of them,
right.
And they're like, okay, so let's take the premise of that taking vaccination. There's like a 1 in whatever chance that they'll get autism, right? So they take this screen, and they cover one side of all these pegs and they leave the other side open, and they sort of knocks off like a couple of pegs. That's like, okay, these are the kids that end up with autism because of vaccinations. And then they proceed to chuck like oranges and shit and they're like, now this is smallpox, and they throw it, and the one with the vaccinations, it just hits the glass and bounces off. But the side that's not covered by the vaccination, it just destroys huge swaths of the pegs, you know? And it's like, the whole point is like, okay, it's still, vaccinations are a very good thing.
And they're saying this is even if it does, which it doesn't.
Exactly. That the premise of the
bit is
the premise of the whole premise of the anti-vaxxer,
even if it did the thing that they claim it does, it's
based on a bullshit scientific paper that has not only been proven wrong, was feloniously proven wrong.
Right.
The guy's in jail because he was so fraudulent.
Yeah, he was trying to sell his own more profitable vaccine. I mean, not no. He was invested in another vaccine alternative, and that's what he was trying to do, was promote his own product.
So. Anyways, Matt gets a drink,
but
we want to wait for Matt to open the show.
I think, yeah.
What was I?
I have to do that again.
He's reluctantly made his claim on. title sequence of this.
But Matt Teller is in the Atlas Shrugged, one of the Atlas Shrugged movies. I think the second one.
I'm sure that's true, Blake, but he never talks.
Yeah, okay.
I have to think about it when I see him. It's impossible to avoid when observing Penn.
I've never seen him mention it in a show.
Well, he says it's definitely true that there's footage of Donald Trump saying racist stuff from The Apprentice.
Yeah, but see, like, if he has that, he should just come out with it already.
He
didn't say he had.
He didn't produce the show. He was a
He just
contestant
said,
on
I'm
it.
sure
I
that there
witnessed
is
it,
tapes
yeah.
of it. I just don't have
Yeah, he was in the room when it happened.
good Hamilton
Yeah.
reference.
Yeah. Get in there.
Little Hamilton drop.
All right, let's start this thing. Come on.
Yeah, let's do guns and chips, you guys, quick. No, nobody. Okay, fine. Never mind.
You have the controller?
Nobody knows.